I'm reading on behalf of Sister Rose, who unfortunately did not get her visa in time to join us today from Nigeria, but who we hope will be present in Rome at some of our future events soon. So I wanted to share her presentation because it's just such a valuable example of work that sisters are doing on the ground. An underlying theme running through Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si is a need to hold in balance responses to the climate crisis in itself and attention to human beings who are impacted by environmental catastrophes. In his encyclical Laudato Si, Pope Francis says efforts to reduce climate change and help people in poverty should not be pitted against each other, but instead pursued as a unified project. And he insists it would be wrong to cut emissions in a way that harms the marginalized in society or places an unmanageable burden on very poor countries. Perhaps one of his better-known quotes from this encyclical is, "We are faced not with two separate crises, one environmental and the other social, but rather with one complex crisis, which is both social and environmental." Therefore, Laudato Si advocates for an integrated approach to combating poverty, restoring dignity to the excluded, and at the same time, protecting nature. In Laudato Si, Pope Francis foresaw that low-income countries would suffer the worst effects of climate change and would need financial assistance in making the transition to sustainable practices. His encyclical asks rich countries to take the lead in reducing their own emissions and in providing funds to developing countries seeking to do the same. The encyclical also predicts a rise in the number of migrants leaving homes destroyed by environmental degradation and calls on people to welcome and support these environmental refugees. So, considering the question of where and to whom resources should be allocated, Laudato Si points to people in need, the most marginalized and most vulnerable people affected by climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss, especially women and girls, children and the elderly, displaced and homeless people, indigenous communities, and other ethnic minorities. And we need to support these groups in order to tackle the challenges faced by sisters and the communities that they serve all around the world. As my contribution to today's topic, integrating care for people and our planet, in line with UISG's commitment to linking the local and the global as we seek environmental solutions that can benefit marginalized groups, I'd like to share my congregation's experiences of climate projects in the field. Ifendu for Women's Development is a project of the Missionary Sisters of the Holy Rosary, and it has carried out a climate innovation initiative in Enugu State, Nigeria, throughout 2022. This initiative focused specifically on 3 climate-related issues: deforestation resulting from tree cutting and bush burning, air pollution from kitchen smoke arising from using firewood for cooking on open fires, and improper waste disposal. The project also identified inadequate awareness of the causative link between human activities and climate change as a strong driver of environmental deterioration in the area. Consequently, the project invested a lot in community training, using participatory methods and new materials based on Laudato Si messages. Within 12 months, the project achieved the following results: increased awareness and knowledge of climate change issues among 1,000 men, women, and young people in the area of Neke. Visual resource materials produced and used for awareness-raising purposes. A climate action group formed for communities in the area. And 58 members of the climate action group trained in environmental advocacy. A series of visits to traditional rulers and their councils carried out to talk about enforcing laws to protect biodiversity. Awareness raising carried out in schools, and customized waste bins donated for recycling purposes. Celebrations and awareness raising activities organized for World Environment Day. 200 trees donated and planted to encourage others, with the aim of planting at least 1,000 trees in the area. 70 energy-saving cooking stoves constructed and distributed, and unexpected advocacy opportunities opening up at national and international levels, as well as new ways to promote women's empowerment and gender equality in the framework of climate action. Some of our insights from the project is that not everything worked. After acquiring the energy-saving cooking stoves, for example, many families set them aside and stopped using them, saying they had an abundance of firewood. And eventually we realized that in this particular social and economic context, what will work much better is advocating for a situation where a steady and affordable supply of electricity and cooking gas become a reality for all families in the area. Unfortunately, at the moment, the cost of cooking gas is prohibitive and beyond the reach of average households. So in our future climate change projects, we would look more towards alternative sources of electricity and energy for cooking and lighting, such as solar panels, lithium batteries, and biogas. So if I had to make an appeal today to the international development community, I would say that based on our project experiences, I want to ask the international community to increase its support to Catholic sisters, firstly, to help us provide training to local communities, and in our case, particularly unemployed young people, who inadvertently destroy biodiversity through bush burning and tree cutting as their only means of sustaining a livelihood. And secondly, together to find ways to subsidize the acquisition of alternative sources of electricity, such as solar energy, for ordinary people so as to reduce the need for fossil fuel-based electrical generators. This would surely be one way of integrating care for people and our planet, not only promoting Pope Francis' encyclical Laudato Si', but also working together towards the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.